Alright, taking a look at this opener. The downside of this hand, once again, only the 1 mana dork and only the 1 green source, but we do have Wolf-Willow Haven. So if you're going to keep a mono green hand, this is certainly the style of hand to do it. You want to lead on Mystic into either Kiora or Wolf-Willow Haven, and we get Rakdos. Nice. Or mono black. The card we did not want to draw. Another copy of Nykthos. Does our dork die? No. Alright, looks like it could be more mono black than even. So sequencing, here. I think what the best mana play is just do this. And then we could untap and get in for 1 point of damage, but I just don't think it's worth the loyalty. How has our opponent done nothing for 2 turns? Well, I guess we get to Goldfish, it looks like. So, do this, put that there. Tap, untap. Get to play Karn. And our opponent concedes. So, mono green doing mono green things. Nice thing about mono green, you generally don't sideboard, so just click submit. Now we could make some adjustments. You know, if Karn was a bit too slow, like if this were mono white humans or spirits, you might like go down a couple copies of Karn and play a little bit more of a actual game. But this hand, this is the all mana hand and hope for payoffs, which I think we're gonna keep. But just as an example, this is one of those hands that I was talking about in the Mulligan guide that could be very suspect that you might not draw a payoff. So immediately draw. You get another land. So opponent keep a fatal push this game. They did not. Alright, so it looks like we are just up against mono black. So yeah, feed this worm, which is fine. Once again, the one thing this hand has in spades is redundancy. So Wolf-Willow Haven. Probably better to Haven this turn, simply because it's not exposed to any type of removal our opponent might have. Then we get to go Kiora untap. We could even play something like Old Growth Troll if we draw it next turn. But yeah, definitely looks like we're up against mono black. Liliana, they're going to plus here, so we're just going to pitch one of our redundant Kioras. They pitch a Maze Mind Tome, so they're definitely a bigger version of mono black. I may even just play this Elvish Mystic out just as kind of a bait for them to take down. Lovestruck Beast, that's interesting. So if we go 1, 2, 3, untap, still only gives us access to 1, 2, 3. So if I play this untap, we have 4 mana this turn. Alternatively, I can go Elvish Mystic, Lovestruck Beast, and Heart's Desire. This will force our opponent to have multiple answers to creatures. Which they certainly could. So with the Edict here, I think we just get rid of Heart's Desire, the human token anyway. Towards Edict, sure. Opponent notably does not activate Liliana here. do we want to get with Karn here? I think we just get Pithing Needle, shut off this Liliana. Alternatively, we could get something else, but anything else we put in our hand is just going to kind of get blown up here. We could get a land and play Lovestruck Beast, draw a card. So our choices are Pithing Needle, shut down the Liliana, or Darksteel Citadel, play Lovestruck Beast, draw a card. I think I actually like doing this. Playing Lovestruck Beast. Yes, it can attack, but it will draw us a card, which is another Karn, which is nice. And see, our opponent's answered like a bunch of our different things, but this is almost a forced edict, because if we find a 1-drop creature, then we can just kill Liliana for free. So opponent decides to make us discard a card, which is fine, I guess. Pitch the extra Kiora. Old Growth Troll. We'll just take the opportunity to grab Sky Sovereign here. Shoot their Liliana. Now they can obviously Fatal Push the Lovestruck Beast if they so chose, but which is what looks like what they're going to do. Opponent pitched Invoke Despair, which is interesting, I guess. And the opponent concedes. So you see, even in a matchup where mono green is not doing truly broken mono green things, it can easily overpower a black mid-range deck, you know, Rakdos, mono black, etc. And kind of get an idea of how you sequence things with mono green. We'll probably play one more match to kind of give a better idea of sequencing. Alright, take a look at this opening hand. This is certainly not a hand you can keep. It's one of those mulligan hands simply because there's no acceleration outside of Kiora, especially being on the draw. So, this hand, much more explosive. What would we put back here? Could be the Nykthos, potentially the Boseiju. Definitely want to keep Storm the Festival as a payoff. So I think we're going to put back the Boseiju and risk our Mana Dork dying. Or do we just put back the Nykthos? Keep, put back. I think we're going to put back the Nykthos. Certainly it adds explosion to the hand, but we really need the 2 green sources to be able to double spell next turn. Or, you know, if our Mana Dork dies and we're up against a Thoughtseize deck. So, which I think they have to take Storm the Festival. They disagree. So they probably plan on killing both the Mana Dorks, possibly. Or if they have a sweeper, these are just going to be collateral damage to whatever sweeper they might have. Sequencing next turn will kind of be important. If the Dork dies, I think we lead on Oath first. Just has Fatal Push. So yeah, they probably might have like a double Fatal Push hand. So play Oath here, so we get more information on our land drops. I mean, they have some like Spell Pierce, more power to them, I guess. Then we got good. Could take Elvish Mystic, Cavalier, or Kiora. I think with this hand we want to take Kiora. Play out our next Land of War Elves, hope it lives. If not, that we draw a land. opponent did have, in fact, double Fatal Push. So this is one of the risks of playing mono green sometimes, is your opponent just has interaction for all your acceleration. And land, please. Nope. Okay. And, okay. Well, we really don't have much of a choice here other than to jam Kiora. I don't think it has a chance in heck of resolving, but it gets hit by a Jawari Disruption. Opponent with a very interesting build. Having Mana Dorks plus Kaito Dancing Shadow. So this would indicate that they have attacker block next turn, create a colorless drone. This creature. Okay. Don't think I've seen much of this one get played in any format, really. I don't even know that it sees that much play in Standard. So it's interesting that they choose that as their kind of card engine of choice. Layer of Tilt, I guess. Well, just continues to draw cards. Okay, so our opponent might be Rogues, would be my guess. So, Storm Thought Thief. Alright. This is going to be a very tricky matchup. They're going to have a lot of pressure in play. And we really can't effectively block terribly much. Because of this. The one target creature can't attack or block until your next turn. So this effectively turns this into, you know, it's milling a bunch of our deck. They get to smack us for 7 here. Actually 8. So we're actually on a 2-turn clock. Okay, I can respect it. Rogues is a deck that sees some amount of Pioneer play. It really was more a deck that saw play in Historic before the banning of Brainstorm. So, but this certainly is a very impressive opening for our opponent. Okay, why did... Okay, what did they do here? Activate, draw a card. Turns these Enforcer, triggered. Kaito Dancing Shadow. Whenever one or more creatures you control, you may return one of them to your hand. If you do, you may activate low abilities of Kaito twice rather than only once. Alrighty then. Did not realize that was a thing on that card. We're just gonna jam Storm. Like, the only card we'd be playing around really is like Jawari Disruption or Censor. You know, either way we're gonna get hit by hard counters. Drown in the lock at this point. So. Alright, these Guild Enforcer. Yep. Get the Menace. We're not quite dead, but... Okay, never mind. We are, in fact, dead. They now have enough power to kill us. So. Sideboarding, I mean, we could board out a couple of cards and bring in some of our things. Cards we would consider bringing in, you know, Pithing Needle, Tormod's Crypt. You know, maybe consider bringing in Sky Sovereign to pair with the Mightstone Meekstone. Because the Planeswalkers are going to be a little bit vulnerable in this matchup. But you saw what our opponent's deck does it in its ideal draw. It like disrupts us early, pressures us in the mid game, and then just kind of closes the door very quickly. So, not a stereotypical deck you will see in Pioneer, but certainly a deck that shows, you know, the elements of actually control and a deck like Spirits. So actually, I think it's a very good deck to kind of have as like our second thing on this how to play Mono Green 101. You know, that one thing where we just dumpster Mono Black Midrange, even on a subpar draw with Disruption. This kind of shows the opposite side of the equation when you have pressure, disruption, control elements all in one kind of thing. It actually makes me want to play Rogues a little bit. The deck hasn't been very impressive, but maybe that 4-mana Kaito was the missing piece. This hand, once again, great acceleration, a payoff. You know, plus we're on the play, so our opponent's going to be kind of harder pressed to answer everything in a timely fashion. Hopefully this will be enough. Doesn't matter which one of these you lead off on. They are effectively the same card, so. Opponent being cute and playing their land in the second main phase. They have Thoughtseize or Fatal Push. Nope. Okay. So we're going to go do this. Do this. And now we're set up to play a Cavalier on turn 3. Our opponent might have, like, Thieves Guild Enforcer or something. Nope. Alright. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't think we need to play the Nykthos out here quite yet. We have to play around Jawari Disruption and our opponent concedes. So you see the downside of Rogues here. You see the positive of Mono Green just doing Mono Green things. Let's see how Game 3 plays out. So again, could consider like shaving some Karns, but this hand is certainly could stumble. I think we'll risk it because it does have mana acceleration. If we hit a second land, this hand can potentially overwhelm the opponent before they can get a control game plan going. But opponent has nothing. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. They could easily have Fatal Push, Sword and Thought, or Thieves Guild Enforcer. Looks like they have Fatal Push. Yep. I'm going to do this to potentially bait out Jawari Disruption. Because we're not going to be able to play around it all game. Oh, Drown Lock? I am absolutely fine with that getting Drown Locked. It's one of their premium counter spells against us, or removal spells. Their deck is predicated on milling cards into our graveyard and then abusing the rogue synergies, plus I believe the card's name is Into the Story. Allows you to draw a bunch of cards. The big problem with the deck is like kind of the mid game. You know, there's no real like clean bridge between stuff, and these two Kaitos might actually do a really good job of that. So now we have 4 mana. Could take the opportunity to resolve Karn. Alternatively, we could go Lovestruck Beast or Heart's Desire, Lovestruck Beast, kind of clog up the board a little bit. Not really sure what's the better option. I think we want to go Heart's Desire, Lovestruck Beast. Now you could have gone Heart's Desire, Old Growth Troll. With these two in play, it doesn't appear that they have a second copy of Fatal Push. That this Lovestruck Beast is going to be enough to pressure Kaito. Our opponent may not be interested in trying to block to save Kaito. This might just literally be a I have a 1/1 draw a card kind of thing. So. Okay. Not going to attack with a 1/1. It could easily get ambushed by any one of their flash threats. So this is at least forcing them. Okay, so they're going to go after it that way. I think we just take the opportunity to Karn here. I don't think there's any way they can kill this next turn, so I'm just going to Karn tick up. Next turn we might have to use this to get a land. Okay, draw a card, then discard a card unless you attack this turn. Alright, so they are going after Karn, which doesn't really do a lot. They plus to draw a card. Okay, so they're going to shock in. So Those is not... What options do we have in the sideboard for this kind of situation? Chariot's decent, although good chance it just gets countered. Pithing Needle shuts down Kaito, which would shut down their card advantage. Sky Sovereign would be the best one if it resolves. You've already used 2 Drown in the Lock, and it didn't seem like they had Jawari Disruption earlier. So I think I'm just going to go Sky Sovereign, shoot their Kaito, or attempt to. Once again, we could do a number of different things. I feel like this Karn's kind of forfeit at this point, so we're just going to jam this. If they have... Okay, they just have Disdainful Stroke. We're going to try to attack Kaito, although I think this is going to run into a Sorting Thought Thief or Thieves Guild Enforcer. Nothing. Okay. So Disdainful Stroke's a little bit harder to play around. We could have played Old Growth Troll. Alternatively, we could have gotten Pithing Needle, shut this Kaito down. So... Lair of the Hydra. Alright, so we're going to wish this Karn away. Grabbing... Pithing Needle. Play out Pithing Needle. And Kaido Shizuki. That actually draws out a Drown in the Lock. So that's 3 of their Drown in the Locks. I think I'm going to get Old Growth Troll on board. If they have another counterspell, they're going to have to use it on that. That'll potentially increase our mana next turn. Put it with a Thieves Guild Enforcer, which is going to have Death Touch now. Oh, the opponent's got that Zareth San, which is an absurdly powerful card. Never deals combat damage. May put target permanent card for that player's graveyard on the battlefield under your control. Yeah, that's going to be bad. So they go to put Lovestruck Beast on the battlefield. Why would they shock in there? Like, what do we get here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're a bit off from Cityscape Leveler. Not sure what that is. Okay, so that doesn't do a lot. Tormod's Crypt would at least get rid of our graveyard potentially. Chainveil, Haywire Might. I don't really feel like we have many good plays left. Guess we get Chariot and hope to buy time. Okay, that's going at us. So you should probably send everything after Karn. After Karn, that's going after Karn. So if I block, I just let Karn die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alternatively, does that free up Bloody Cityscape Leveler 7, 8 mana? So if I block here to keep them from getting something out of a graveyard, block here, block there. This is going to equip onto one of our forests. Alright, so no matter if they counter this or not, we're going to get to kill this guy. Obviously they could have another copy of it, but we're not going to be able to play around that, so... Well, gets to go Thieves Guild Enforcer. Kaito, man, has really wrecked us this game. Plus the Zareth Soon or whatever it is. Cling to Dust, yep. Let's get rid of one of our Storm the Festivals anyway. So they shock in, that's interesting. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, okay, 4, 5, 6 mana. Actually 7 really if Power Stone. I should really flash back Cling to Dust right now. Extinction Event. Okay. That's less than ideal for us. Kiora. Notably, we would have gone from 4 down to 2 up to 6, 7, 8, so we wouldn't have had quite enough mana here to cast Storm the Festival this turn. So hopefully this Chariot will stabilize the board. Soaring Thought Thief, I mean. Can swing in for 6. They could kill Kiora if they want to. They choose not to. Okay. I guess we'd have the ability to block, but you'd think they have some removal spells sitting in their hand. Flashing black Cling to Dust. Looks like it. Mm-hmm. Get an emblem. Search the library for a blue or black creature, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. So we're going to have a third Cling to Dust here. I don't have enough cards to escape it. Fatal Push, sure. So we can play around any soft counters they have. If they do have Stainful Stroke or something, unfortunately we can't play around that. Once again, no real reason to attack. And that's what, 3 copies of Storm the Festival gone? I guess to threaten Kaito's ultimate next turn. Start by making a bunch of mana. Make a wolf token. Build some mana. Use 1 to sacrifice. How's this worded? Okay, so put that to draw a card. So now we have what, no devotion left in play. We have 1 devotion left in play, so Nykthos doesn't do anything here. So we can't cast the Mightstone, Meekstone, and our opponent just gets to Kaito us. So I think this match was both the best of times and the worst of times for Mono Green. We're going to get ultimated by Kaito here. Never Numbling. Creature control deals combat damage. Search your library for a green or black, red or blue or black creature. Yep. And now they just kind of get to overwhelm us, unfortunately. They're going to get to hit us for 6, and then just presumably put enough pressure in play to kill us. Triggers, they get to mill us. Alright, Nighthawk. To mill some more. So they have Nighthawk. Yep, they have another Kaito. Makes sense. It'd be a card in their hand that they wouldn't want to play another one of. Gets to draw a card and phases himself out. Sure. Alright, we have another Storm the Festival that we can't cast. I think it's safe to say this is a concession at this point. So doing a quick wrap, once again, we used the same version that we used in the Mulligan video. The point of this was to show, kind of the ins and outs of basic mono green stuff. Got to see a game in game 1, or match number 1 against mono black, where the opponent basically did nothing. Game 1, game 2, we demolished them as well. And then match number 2, you got to see a deck that was kind of part tempo, part control. Disrupted us game 1 just enough to win. Game 2, we kind of overwhelmed them, which is kind of what proper sequencing with mono green could do. And then game 3, we were just kind of off balance just enough that they were eventually able to take over the game with our Kaito. Mono green is a very simplistic deck on the surface. The key to it is mulliganing and sequencing. Once you get beyond that, there really isn't a ton of decisions other than, whatever way you can use the most mana, and then, your decisions with what you're fetching with Karn. Really, the decision points in mono green come down to what's in your Karn Wish board and what are those 2 or 3 flex slots. Like I said, in this version, we had the 2 copies of Lovestruck Beast and the 1 Mightstone Meekstone. Other versions run things like Nissa, who shakes the world, And then the non-green versions also run, or the ones that do the splashes also sometimes run Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh, Teferi Who Still Is the Sun, and Vraska Golgari Queen are other ones that sometimes see play in those slots. We'll probably do some videos to cover those, at least, understanding sequencing where their play positions are in the deck. But wanted to do a kind of a 101 addendum to the live stream that we did. How to play the deck, sequencing important. And, for 2 matches only playing with this, we were quite nice that we played against a mono black mid-range deck, which is something akin to Rakdos, but not quite. And then a deck that was kind of in between Spirits and Blue-White Control with the Dimir Rogues deck that we played against. So figure this is a very good place to kind of, wrap up this video in terms of gameplay. Gives you an idea of how the sequence with the deck, strengths and weaknesses of the deck all mesh into one video. So if you like these kind of informative, easy to understand guides for decks, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you for our next video here on Pioneer Nexus MTG.